Welcome back to Effortless Coding. My name is Sam and I'm glad that you've joined us in this new edition. I'm actually at a place called Namelok in Loitoktok, Kajiado County. It's a border town just near Tanzania here, a place called Tarekea. People have been asking, hey, as they ask, we know how to code in HTML. How comes you're just focusing on HTML? We want to now start interacting with the database. So I said it's fine if you guys want that. We'll still continue with the HTML series, but for those people who know how to code in HTML, we're gonna start PHP and also MySQL at the same time as we do also the CSS tutorials. So in this particular episode, I'm gonna introduce to you what PHP is. Now, PHP actually, it's a recursive acronym. For those people who don't know what a recursive acronym is, a recursive acronym is where the first letter is that word itself, is that acronym itself. So PHP basically means PHP Hypertext Preprocessor, and it's a server-side scripting language. We've dealt with HTML, and I'm sure some of you have dealt with JavaScript. Those are called client-side languages. Client-side languages are interpreted, they're downloaded and interpreted by the browser itself, whichever browser you use. When you're talking about scripting languages are actually interpreted by the server. So it has to go to the server for it to be interpreted and link to and provide a path to the database that you're using. In this particular case, since you're using PHP, the most common database will be MySQL. So I hope you've understood that, but I'll give an analogy. When you go to a bank and let's say you get to a teller and you want to just deposit, say, 100,000 shillings. Now, when you deposit 100,000 shillings, that particular teller will say, it's okay, just give me the money, and you will transact the business on that particular level. But let's say you go today with 20 million Kenya shillings and you want to deposit. The teller, first of all, will have to go and confirm with the bank manager, and you will not know basically what is happening behind the scenes. So take that as an example. So once they've cleared that transaction with the bank manager or the bank management where you're not able to access, and then they'll come back to you and give you a report and say, yeah, it's fine, you can now deposit that 20 million. So basically, when you're talking about the bank management dealing with that transaction, that is the server-side scripting language, and that is where we're talking about PHP, where you'll not be able to access or view what is actually happening with regards to the code. So, but when it comes to HTML and JavaScript, those are called client-side languages that are actually downloaded and interpreted by the browser. So I hope you've understood those two differences. So some of you might ask, what are the uses of PHP? Now, PHP has a lot of uses. So the first use basically is when you're dealing with forms. I'm sure you've gone to an online site and where you're supposed to enter your details and all that. So PHP is very good when it comes to dealing with the backend of that form, trying to take that data to the database that you're using. So PHP is actually perfect for forms. PHP is also used to add, edit, delete, modify whatever content you want in any particular script or any particular document that you want to do, or you want to work with. The third one is when it comes to cookies. I'm sure you've gone to websites where you need to register a cookie and accept a cookie. So basically PHP, we'll talk about cookies at some point when you're doing this tutorial. So PHP basically also manages cookies when it comes to the cookie and sessions. We'll deal with that when it comes to that. Another use for PHP basically is when you want people to access some pages of your website and not access others. You've seen websites where you have to register to access some pages. Basically limited pages within websites or web applications. You can implement that perfectly well with PHP. So it has a lot of uses, and we always find all these common uses in our day-to-day lives. So the best language, the best scripting language to use in this particular practical example, if you have all these uses that you want to achieve, is PHP. So let me give you an example of just a basic PHP code. We're not going to code now, but I'll give you a basic example of a PHP code. You remember a basic HTML structure when we're dealing with HTML? After you've actually typed the basic structure of HTML, because I told you, you can embed PHP on HTML. That's actually the best use of PHP because it actually embeds in HTML, and it's easy for HTML users to build their interfaces in HTML and build their server scripting using PHP. So do your basic structure of HTML document. Within the body tag, I want you to type the following: $sign, as you can see on my screen, $, the name PHP in small letters, space, then say echo space, open double quotes, and within those double quotes say this is effortless coding. And then after the double quotes, the last double quote, I want you to type a semicolon. Then you can put a space and put a question mark and a greater than sign. So once you've done that, I want you to save, but save this document. Don't save, you remember in HTML, we are saving as .html. You remember that extension? I hope you do. So in this particular PHP, all our PHP documents will have a .php extension, unlike in HTML where we had .html. So save that document still as my first PHP. You can choose whatever name you want, but in this particular tutorial, I want you to save it as my first PHP project.php. Then once you've saved it, the way we always accessed our documents that we've coded, go to your browser, which should be on my right hand, which should be on your right hand side if you're looking at this split screen. I want you to go to the localhost and access the same document, but in this case, type the name of the document, which is my first PHP project.php. So for those people who've actually followed this tutorial, you should be able to see the words, this is effortless coding. So what we just did in the code is just to say that we want to show that this is effortless coding. So with that, I think that is the basic syntax. It's just a very basic, simple example of how you can use PHP to code and also embed it in HTML. Now, I'll tell you also one thing before we go to the next episode, which will be talking about the basic syntax. There are ways in which you can code PHP. You've realized in the previous example, we started PHP with a less than sign question mark, the word PHP in small letters, then whatever we wanted to write in PHP, the PHP code followed, then we ended it with a question mark and a greater than sign. So there are three ways in which you can write code. That is just the first way. The second way in which you can actually write your PHP code is by using less than sign, question mark without the name PHP. Just less than sign, question mark without the PHP, then write your PHP statement and end with question mark and greater than sign. That too is allowed in PHP. So you can use the first option or this particular option. Now the third option, which is rarely used, I've actually never seen anybody use this, but it's also acceptable, is by using the script tag. You remember we talked about some script tag at some point when you're looking at HTML, the HTML code. So you can do the script tag, you can do less than sign, type the name script, space, then write the attribute called language. You remember attributes, we talked about attributes in HTML. So write language as an attribute, then is equals to sign, then double quotes, two double quotes. Within the double quotes, write PHP because you're using PHP as a language. If it was JavaScript, would have written JavaScript in there. So write write PHP, then close the opening script tag. Then within, just immediately after that, write your PHP statement. Whatever it is that we wrote in the earlier one, which is this is effortless coding, you can still do the same. Then end that with the script tag. You remember in HTML, the way we used to have the closing tags? You can do less than sign, / the name script, then end with greater than sign. So that is the third way in which you can actually write your PHP code. So we will be dealing with all this syntax in this particular series. It's called the PHP series. And just before you start this particular tutorial series, I want you to ensure that you have the right requirements in place. We talked about this in the HTML tutorial. You need Apache installed in your machine. And for example, we use XAMPP. So for those people who don't know how to install XAMPP, or those people who did not go through the HTML series tutorial, kindly find that tutorial here where you can install XAMPP. And there are two things that you must start. Remember in HTML, we just required the Apache started. But in this particular tutorial, when you're using PHP, you'll have to start two activities within, or rather two processes within XAMPP. So the first one will be the Apache, which will actually help you process HTML. The second one is the MySQL, which will actually also help you. Remember, we talked about PHP creating a path to the database from a backend point of view. So you'll have to open that MySQL activity to be able to interact with the DB. So with that being done, I hope that you will have installed that XAMPP whenever we start the basic syntax episode, which we'll actually be tackling next. If you have any questions, or if you want anything tackled, kindly, the comment section is right here. You can follow us on all these links that are appearing on your screen. And for those people who are actually watching this for the first time, kindly remember to subscribe, like our video, share with your friends. You can ask your kids to actually subscribe because these tutorials are very beginner friendly. I want you guys to come and visit Loitoktok town. It's a border town in Kenya. Come visit it. It's very green. People think it's a desert, but it's not actually. This is my first time here, and I want to now move to Tanzania, a place called Tarekea. Till next time, kudos!